So we're doing episode three of the Essentials by Dr. Saeed podcast. Someone is obviously absent. He had better things to do today, but I'm not going to name any names. So today we're going to be focusing on a couple of things. One, what sites to prioritize on drops, different drops. We'll also go over the staff's little origin stories, kind of quick how we got started, probably what our first cook was and go from there. So, Fitzy,
We
drops for this week.
this week calendar looks pretty busy. We have I think it's Wednesday. Wednesday's the dunks. Thursday is Motion Logo Supreme Tees as well as something else. I'm forgetting.
Bariums.
Bariums,
Easy
yeah,
bariums, if that's what the countdown is leading towards.
yeah, the Quantums, and then 26th is tie dye. And I think that's everything. There are also some 11 lows that I think the hood may want. So you should probably be looking for those. You get a few pairs, see what's up. I think it.
Saturday, yeah.
Yeah.
And the Sean Witherspoon Atmos ASIC
Oh yeah,
collab. That,
facts.
that that's gonna go.
That is definitely going to hit. I mean, it's like Sean Witherspoon, so it's like there's no chance it doesn't hit. Especially with
Look,
like the massive hype on the 97s. It's like
yeah. Plus low key, those gel light threes are people like those a lot. They're super
yeah,
comfy. So
facts. I feel like Sean Witherspoon hypes up shoes almost like a Travis Scott. Like his name on a
you think?
shoe instantly gives it like some kind of hype.
No, no, that's pretty interesting. I think he could get there. Obviously, getting poo-pooed on by Nike wasn't good for him and or any of us really, because he could have had a lot of drops with them, at least like one a year, and definitely
We would
had a
have
lot of
made
hype
so
behind it.
much
They
money.
messed up on that.
We would have made so much money. That's actually so terrible.
Yeah, man. And believe it or not, Jerry Lorenzo might be going that same route. He was talking about how he's basically on a yearly contract with Nike, and that's why before, I don't know if you guys remember a few drops back, they were like, "Oh, these are going to be the last Fear of God ones," because his contract was up and they weren't playing nice. So
Oh
look out for that in
yeah,
the near future.
yeah. People were saying the strings were canceled. I remember that. I'm watching the video. All right. So sites to prioritize. It differs a bit on release to release. So like the first type of release is like the tier zero kind of release where it's like your super limited shoes like Travis, some dunks like the red dunks are probably gonna be kind of classified as tier zero or maybe tier one.
Tier one.
Yeah, but it's gonna be like your Travis Scott's, just super limited shoes that you probably don't have a great chance to hit, and they're only gonna be dropping on like Kith DSM, maybe some random Shopify site, and that's
And
it.
undefeated
Yeah, and
if they
just
don't do a
yeah,
raffle.
if they don't raffle. A lot of sites choose to raffle those off, so it may be smart to just enter as many raffles as you can on those, and then obviously go for Kith and DSM because with those shoes you really just want as many chances to hit as possible because each site that drops it is going to be so hard to hit. You just need to up your odds as much as you can. And then tier 1 releases, which I would say is like these champ colored dunks that are dropping on Wednesday. Red dunks that are dropping July 1st. Anything that's not going to go to foot sites but goes to SNK, maybe Nordstrom, kind
Dead
of,
dog.
yeah, kind of bigger Shopify sites, not Kith, not DSM, although they still will probably get pairs, but sites outside of that. And again, there, you really just want to go for all sites you can that your bot supports because, again, it's going to be really hard to hit any given site, so you just want as many chances. But these I'll say tier 2 releases basically. The next category up, Yeezys and Jordan 1s. which would drop on foot sites and Yeezy Supply. That's when you want to start getting more selective with your sites so that you don't waste all your time in one clicks. With those, foot sites, Yeezy Supply, Hibbit, any of those custom sites that you can just run in the background and just forget about basically, those are the ones that you want to go like the hardest on because they require no attention from you. They require minimal resources, assuming you're running TCs over resis, and you can hit hundreds of pairs on sites like that if you know what you're doing. And then after that, if you want, you can run Kith, DSM, kind of higher stock Shopify sites. Because
When it comes to like 10 a.m. sites, I like splitting up my tasks. I do like 4 tasks DTLR, 4 tasks Jimmy Jazz, and 4 tasks Kith. And then I run restocks on Kith if I'm like running slots and I don't hit initial.
mm,
That's how I break up my 10 a.m. sites.
yeah, it's really about not flooding your captchas and not giving all your captchas to one site that's gonna have no stock. Like, let's say it's a Shopify site with like no stock.
Like shot nice kicks
Yeah,
compared to when like everyone
Yeah.
runs it.
yeah. SNK has gotten super saturated in the past like few months and few weeks, and they even have like full checkpoint, bot protection, all that now. So you're gonna be pouring in a ton of resources like resis, one clicks, all of that. So when it comes to 10 a.m., you're gonna be solving all those captchas, and you're probably not even gonna hit because they don't have much stock. It's not worth it when you could be putting all those captchas into a site like Kith, which will have more stock and you have a higher chance of hitting.
I think Jimmy Jazz is still like relatively low key. Like
Mm-hmm.
everyone knows shop nice kicks, but not everyone might know Jimmy Jazz or DTLR that always drop Jordans.
Yeah. That's definitely true. Not many people run those two sites compared to like Shop Nice Kicks, Kith, all of that. So those are definitely more good sites to run as well. And they also get decent stock, right? It's not terrible.
Oh yeah, they get like couple hundred pairs.
Yeah, so that's definitely a site we would suggest running. They both have full bot protection, right? All of it? Checkpoint, proxy,
Yeah.
bot pro, all that?
Not
Yep.
proxy protection.
Oh,
Easier
okay.
to work fine.
Yeah, so they have pretty much everything. So make sure you're just following setup guides in bot specific setup channels and or the release guides we put out the day before release. I think that's everything for site prioritization, right?
Yeah,
I'd
I
say
think,
yeah.
yeah, I think like one other thing that I would add is that like for instance on a week like this week where there's a bunch of different drops,
Mhm.
if you strike out early on like the Shopify limited ones, um, definitely go really hard like you were saying on like the foot site, like the sites with like the
Yeah.
like a lot of stock, because that's like where resellers like that's where you're gonna have like the most opportunity to make money
Mhm.
because you can cop a lot of pairs and like even if the profit margin is like a lot lower per pair, it's easier to get multiples.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. If
like
you're-
for this week, if you're like making a game plan or something, you know, like I would plan to like go harder on those like drops that are happening that will have a lot more stock versus like you know the A6 or those champion dunks I think that are Wednesday or Tuesday.
yeah,
So
Wednesday.
yeah, that's just something to keep in mind as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, I want to add to that too. Like, I mean, you brought up game plan. I think it's really important, especially on weeks like this where there's 2, 3 drops all scattered throughout, that you really do plan ahead. Like, what am I going for? What am I not going for? What time is each drop? And what site is dropping at what time? Because there's nothing worse, and I see it all the time. This is not anyone in specific, than a ticket opening up like 10 minutes before drop, and you're asking, how do I make a credit card? Should I run this bot or not? Should I rent this bot or not?
What
What
proxies
proxy
work
should I
well?
use?
That's a classic.
Yeah, like, guys, all joking aside, if you're setting up that late and you don't know what's going on, you're not going to hit anything. You should have done that like a day to 2 days before, gotten all your questions out of the way, and really by that time just be focused on making sure everything's in order, all your proxies are in your bot, all your credit cards are working, and not, you know, asking questions that you should have asked days before.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So-
Yeah, adding on to that, you know, like I feel like in like, you know, the Snap chat and like other chats that I'm in with like a lot of people that are botting, we're like consistently asking each other questions, trying to improve our setups. So like that's something also that like don't wait until the last minute. You guys should be just asking questions all the time or opening tickets all the time, because that's how you really get like a good big picture like, you know, setup. Because I feel like most of us have like we already know what works for us and we don't really change the variables too much per drop, and that's ultimately where you want to get, where like you don't really have to change like your proxy provider or anything really per drop. You just kind of have it ready, you have your profiles ready, you just load it up, enter the SKU PID whatever, and just run it, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
But even when it comes down to like drop days, like 24 hours, I'm setting up. You know, I'm writing down what servers my bots go on, what proxies, how many profiles, how many tasks, and
Yeah.
I think a lot of time goes into that. Just preparation and just thinking about like how's this gonna roll out.
Yeah, it's a really good strategy actually. I know I know Neighbor does this in this group. He writes down like all of the bots he has for say like Yeezy Supply on a Yeezy release, and he writes down all the proxies he has, and he like allocates it by percent, like what proxies go to what bot, and like how many tasks he's gonna run on each bot, where his Gmails are going on a Yeezy Supply release, and that like really smooths out the setup process so that you're not doing everything in your head and you're not like messing yourself up putting too many proxies into one bot. It's a lot easier to visualize and put it down on paper than it is just to do everything in your head when you're setting up with like 3 bots, a ton of proxy providers, all that. So I keep that in mind when you're setting up as well.
Yeah, you know, something else I would add to, if you're newer to this or you don't have your setup down pat, reread the guides. There's like 20 guides for all these sites that we have. Reread them. Even if you read them already, reread it. I guarantee you'll learn something new, because a lot of the stuff you'll already know, and then you'll see that one little thing where it's like, oh, if I add X, Y, and Z, then I could probably pick up a few more pairs. Or, oh, you know what? I didn't even think. I probably shouldn't have added these letters this way into my address, and that's why I got clipped. So reread the guide.
Yeah, I reread the guides a lot. Like before a release, why not? I'll just go through some guides, refresh everything, make sure everything's in order. And it saved me a few times. Just like fixing out profiles and all that. Not getting canceled.
Yep. And like another thing that I've noticed with Finish Line and also with Foot Sites, the ones that are still do like the old processor with PV, is that like you should keep track of the profiles that you're using to check out and which ones don't get canceled, because there's like a high probability that if that profile like email combination or like address jig combination didn't get canceled, that profile is now, it's good, so you can just use it again and again and again. And you know, obviously keep track of the ones that do get canceled because something's up there. So just like stay organized as much as possible. I know like I have spreadsheets, and like I go through and like even do like order numbers, confirmation, customer numbers, and just make sure that everything is like matching up. And like I like to see on Foot Sites that like all my orders have unique customer numbers too, because that will like lessen the chance of you getting a PV. So just, you know, those little things that you can do to stay organized. Just try to do it. Put effort into it.
If you're getting canceled or like not hitting, also, there's no reason to not switch up your profiles in your setup. Like if you're not hitting, like what do you have to lose? You can just try switching something up, and if that works, that's good. You found something that works and you can stick with that. If it doesn't work, you can just move on to something else and see if that works. If that makes any sense.
Since we're touching on PVs, I just want to say not all PVs is a direct result from like your profile. It can just be like an out of stock, or they don't have enough product in stock. So it's not Like if you hit on initial and then you get PV'd, maybe that's something you can look into. But if you get like PV'd on restocks and you know it's not your profiles, it's nothing really to worry about.
Mhm. Yeah, you can't always predict PVs and cancels exactly why they're happening, although you can kind of thin down the reasons why they're happening.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yep.
think. Did I conclude all that? Anybody have anything else they want to say? No, alright.
I'm good.
Good in regards to that.
So I think now we're gonna move on. I've heard a few of you guys wanted to hear like how each of us got into reselling and all that. So I guess we can just go in the voice chat from top to bottom and do that. Starting with yeah.
Yeah, okay then. So my first item I got to resell was in 2017 and was a Supreme keychain. So obviously nothing crazy. And then since then, just been building it up over the 3 years to where we are now. That's about it, really.
No, special.
Nothing too crazy.
Yeah. What was the first item that you like made like big money on?
Probably the first drop I did made decent money on would be the Supreme Night Dunks, because when I first started I only did Supreme.
Mm-hmm.
Only more recently did I then do shoes and other things.
Yeah. I think was it just because like Supreme is like kind of simple
Yeah,
to
really,
get into?
yeah, really cheap to get into, and
It's like
just way more simple than Shopify or anything.
some bots aren't too expensive either.
Yeah, yeah.
No, especially back then, you could just get a BNB for like $30 and run like any proxy. Yeah, but plus, you get a drop every week, so it's like you strike out, no problem. Try again next week. Try again next week.
Yeah, it's
Yeah. For anyone beginning, I always say go with Supreme to start with.
I feel like it's also like a gateway into like streetwear and all that as well. Like
Yeah.
half the people who are in the streetwear, their first like brand they liked was Preem. Not saying it's a good
Ladies and
brand.
Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first. Fitzy called Supreme a gateway drug to
I mean,
streetwear.
it is. It is. I'll stand by that statement. 100%. I will stand by that statement.
I think that's actually a really good analogy. I like that. I might steal that.
Gateway drug to streetwear.
Okay, so I guess I'm up next. So, in regards to sneakers, I had I think it was '06 maybe. I don't know. Whenever the Pirate Blacks came out the second time for Yeezys, I kind of wanted a pair just to resell because I saw how much they were going for, and like a schlub, I had my one window open on Yeezy Supply, waited in queue for 7 hours, struck out. So then I went to a sneaker con with my sister. We went early, and I saw that like the same 6, 7 people with all these tables had all of the shoes, and I said, obviously they're not the luckiest people in the world to have these shoes, and win the raffles all the time. There's got to be a way they're getting around it. So I started researching, probably like most people, found A and B, and tried my first real run with 750 glow in the dark Yeezys, and I hit two of those, made like over 3 grand just two of those, and was like, oh wow, this is really easy. And of course it not, but I was hooked.
Bro, I wish I joined back then. It's such a good time. I didn't have to deal with no capture or anything on like Shopify. I'll check.
No, you just ran DCs on Shopify, and you could just leave them running day and night. And here's the thing though, I'll never forget that day because A and B was so simple back then, it wouldn't even save your proxies in the bot. So if you, well, I'm not even gonna say what I'm gonna say, but I would have mentioned a bot that doesn't do that anyway now in 2020. But anyway, the A and B wouldn't save the proxies, so they had a last minute patch, literally 3 minutes before Adidas and Yeezy Supply dropped at the same time. So I did the update, started all my tasks. It was like 100 tasks for Yeezy Supply, 100 tasks for Adidas. Hit a shoe on each one, sat there, didn't hit anything else, obviously because my IP was banned. I was running 200 tasks and blew up my IP and didn't know anything until like 3 hours later, where I stopped and I was like, oh shit. I actually ended up writing them and they surely added that later on. You're all welcome.
The person you have to
That's
thank
hilarious.
for AMB proxy saving. Were they
Davey,
like the
you're up.
only bot to not
I'm
have
up.
it?
Was what?
Were they like the only bot to not have it? Were there even any other bots? Like big bots?
You know, big bots? Man, I'm trying to think. But back then it was Soul Slayer for foot sites. Like that thing killed, man. You just made it 100 tasks, turned it on, and the thing just started checking out like crazy. A and B had Shopify, which was Easy Supply, and any other Shopify, but they were really big for Adidas, and they were all right for foot sites. Then there was like Easy Cop and other bots like that. Those were a lot more like low key. I didn't know them because I, wasn't in there. And B AIO was just really mainly for Supreme. Dude, people were giving it away. I paid $30 for that thing. Hit North Face, hit everything that season.
Dang,
Good.
those were the good old days.
Yeah,
Yeah.
dated myself on that one.
Well, I guess I'm up. My first like experience with like all this hype stuff and like the shoes and everything was Black Friday. I think it was 2017 when the breads like the pack came out, and so like me and my friends, I have a couple of friends that have been into like this kind of stuff for like a long time, like actual shoe collectors, and we were just like chilling. At one of their houses, and he was like, yo, like, let's all try for these. Like, I want to secure a pair, and like, you guys should too. So we all got on our computers and we did like the whole have a bunch of windows open, which is still actually very effective on Use Supply. And yeah, like, I copped a couple pairs of those Black Friday packs, and I wanted to keep them. And then we saw one of my friends told me that like you could sell them for a bunch of money, and like I wasn't really like super into shoes back then. Like I was basically like right out of college. I was right out of college. Basically like broke. Not really. Like I was thinking like $220 for a pair of shoes. Like that's a lot of money. So I sold them, and then from there on out, I just kind of kept doing it that way. And then I didn't get into botting until maybe like a year ago, a year and a half ago. And yeah, I got A and B. A and B was my first bot. And I honestly did really, really bad with it at first. I had no idea what I was doing. I joined a couple groups. They didn't really help. And then eventually I joined a group that's pretty hated nowadays. And like, I guess this was before all these like bot restock tools were out and about. And they taught me how to like cop bot, and I cop Falco. And from there on out, it was just smooth sailing basically. And it's been a journey, but it's been really fun. And yeah, if you're like new to botting, even if you're new to it now, I had a lot of people back when I started botting and like entered the Discord world a year ago. I would ask like, what's the piece of advice that you would give me? So many people were like really negative, and they were like, my piece of advice is like, don't do this. Like, get out of this now. It's only getting harder and harder. And while that may be true, there's still a lot of reward here, and there's still like a lot of money to be made. So don't give up. I do think it's become more of a pay-to-play system, and you can kind of see bot prices increasing more and more, but that just means that you kind of have to scale it as a business and do more, cop more, and you will make money. But
Yep.
That's how I started out.
You just have to know what to do pretty much. You have to be a lot smarter.
Yeah, take every opportunity to learn. If you're in the essentials and you're listening to this, you're super, super blessed. Like I I was watching YouTube videos, like finding random people who had like it was just wasn't good. It was basically trial and error for me. So the fact that like this group has so many very very detailed, extensive guides, just read them. Read them, follow that. You'll cop more than I did my first like 4, 5, 6 months for sure.
Mhm.
So yeah, like it still is a lot of trial and error, definitely, but and also invest. Don't be afraid to invest in it. That's one thing I would tell anybody. It's not going to be cheap, but it's worth it if you like follow all the guides and set a good plan for yourself. Stay
Mhm.
organized, like we were saying,
Yeah.
and it can be good for you.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it makes sense. Staying organized is definitely like a very big part of all of this.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like one thing that I always kind of have to remind myself of, like it always stays in the back of my mind is like all these proxies, like bots, expenses. That's like a reoccurring expense.
Mhm.
So you have to make at least a certain amount of money to break even when you think about it. So like if at least you want to break even, write down like those costs so that you're aware of them and you don't forget that you're paying that money monthly so that you can at least like set a goal for yourself to break even every month, you know?
Mhm.
Because a lot of people will pass on certain pairs of shoes because they think that the profit is too low. But if it will help you cover, it's worth it. Even if it's 10, $15, like you're spending, even if it's a 60-month renewal bot, that's $10 a month for the year that you're paying on that bot plus proxies, blah, blah, blah. Like just cover it at least.
Yeah, I mean, you might as well go for most releases, even if it's kind of bricky, even if you're making $10.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like that mentality. I feel a lot of people, they like lose sight of those fixed costs that they have every month, and that's something that like it's really dangerous.
Mhm.
So definitely, keep track of those expenses, and make sure that you at least make enough money to pay them off, and it's not coming out of your own pocket.
Yeah, exactly. And for me, my first drop was the original static reflectors. I remember my friends were just like, they would just like go on StockX and stuff. And I was like, oh, well, these shoes definitely don't retail for $600 or whatever. So there's probably some money to be made. And then I researched a bit. I figured out like how they drop or whatever. And then it was like around December of that year. So I just went for the static reflectives. I followed some Keith Adam YouTube videos, which were a classic. Yeezy Supply Q bypass, and it was easy, and I was super hyped. And then I sold them for like $500, and they went up to 1K. And yeah, and I used that money to, I think, rent a bot. I think I rented PD for like February of that next year, and then PD dropped off. So that was tough. And then eventually, I remember I just got some guy in a group of mine just gave me a mech rental. At the time it was called Yetian for the Swarovski box
Yetiao.
logos. For the Swarovskis. And then I hit a sweatshirt and a t-shirt, and then I sold those for like 1K profit, and then I was all good from there.
Damn.
And then, oh yeah, and then I hit Balco. I remember that. I don't know how I hit Balco.
How'd you get Balco? You don't remember?
I got it off a restock, but I have no idea like how. I think it was like February of last year. So I think before Travis Scott and all that, so it was like not as hyped. But I was still pretty surprised when I sold that. I bought it back the same year. And yeah, now here we are.
So yeah, I got into reselling last year around May, so been a bit over a year. And my first co-op, I guess, was 4 Yeezy Clays. So those didn't perform too well initially, but they went up a decent amount if you held them. And my biggest co-op was Travis Highs off of the SML. So yeah, those like all manual.
How many did you hit on DSML?
Just one,
Oh.
Travis.
I remember that. That was.
But yeah, I really didn't really step up my botting game for a while. Like I was just kind of like taking it slow, not really like putting all the effort into it. But like I agree with the pay to play situation. Like you gotta have good bots to hit 100 clips or whatever. So it's definitely up to you if you want to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like-
It's not the same game it used to be. I mean, even PD is like all these like bots that were not necessarily super expensive are all like double in price now.
It's like
So-
everything. If you want a decent bot and like hit some shoes, you have to pay like 1K.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of
Yeah.
nuts.
Unless you get like NSB, which is like I
That's
still think is a
facts.
good bot for its price.
It's kind of like the AMB of now.
It is, yeah, exactly. I mean, A and B, like I don't want to like knock A and B either. It's been doing pretty well on foot sites apparently. I know Atlas is a big believer in A and B.
Atlas goes wild for AMB.
MP Cooks, dude.
Alice is
don't doubt
sponsored.
It's
Yeah.
Keep laughing, but look at that. Look what I just cut for you guys. Make you
Hash-
respect the A and Bs.
Hashtag ad.
Look at that. That's just
Nostalgia.
going back random. Well, you got some trophy rooms, some Travis's, dude. A and B Cooks. I don't even use it. Free ad. I don't even use it, but it's good. Don't sleep on it.
Alright. Alright. It's kind of nuts.
That definitely paid for all my shit, all my bots, all my
For
whatever.
real. It's like you hit that one big drop, like, somehow, with, like, pure luck. And then you just, like, that just pays for everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And you know what? Talking about that, just in general, a lot of times with these drops, like, don't give up, especially when it's an Adidas drop. Like Adidas Easy Supply foot sites. Don't give up. If that first like 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, you're not hitting crap, those drops, it's like an endurance race, man. I know I hear the guys for the for Locker EU, it's the same, but US sites, like, man, don't give up. I remember even the other day, like Dave, myself, and a few other people were in a voice for the Royals, and like Cyber hit right away, but then after that was when like Balco and Wrath started hitting hard. So just let your stuff run, man. Like check, recheck, let it run. Like don't give up. Just run it until stuff's sold out. I've hit so many pairs, like probably in the last 10 minutes of a drop, just because of that.
Yeah. I mean, that's
Make
one
sure
where-
you're troubleshooting too, right? Like I had Kodai and my friend kept hitting. I'm like, what am I doing wrong? I restarted my Kodai and checkouts just started rolling. So it's not all like user error. It can be some of the bot error. Just make sure you're doing something to troubleshoot it.
Definitely.
You're not just
I know-
sitting there and watching the bot do nothing.
Yeah. Another thing that like I do is I definitely like sometimes will swap out proxies. If I see that I'm getting like banned a lot, I'll like gen like a whole new fresh list or just switch to a different provider. And then for restocks, so like when it comes to foot sites, I don't really necessarily know about like you apply this like it would apply this much, but for like foot sites, for restocks, I generally will always have like a Discord window open on like a bot's checkout log, and because like you know these monitors will ping restocks and sometimes it's fake stock. So like if you see checkouts rolling in for something and like it's something that you want, you should just like you should have already had those tasks ready and just start them up. It doesn't really hurt you honestly just to like have it ready on standby. And if you see that checkout log going off, start those tasks. I've hit so many restocks just like using that strategy. So
Yeah. That's,
something to keep in mind.
that's what I do specifically for foot sites. I find that, like, that's for foot sites, for, like, specifically Balco, that's, like, probably
yeah.
one of the best ways to go about it. Because Balco, if you run foot sites for, like, if you just leave your task running, they're going to get stuck at, like, adding the card or waiting for cookies or something. So you have to start when you know that you can hit, basically, to get the maximum usage out of your tasks.
Can you elaborate on that a little bit, Fitzy? Like, so what are you watching? You're just watching the checkout
Yeah.
webhooks on
Yeah,
Balco?
I just
Yeah.
stare at checkout webhook, Most of the time, if it's like higher stock, okay. So like on initial, right? I'll start my task before the drop on foot sites at like whatever 9:30, 9:45, whatever. And then initial drop, they drop the initial stock. I get a few checkouts there, and then I'll stop my tasks. And then usually foot site card holds are around 5 minutes late or 5 minutes. So I wait 5 minutes, and then at 10:04 and like just a little before 10:05, I start those tasks again, and then they get to product page and all that, and then right as they get to product page, card holds go down so that more people can check out, and you'll get a few more checkouts, and you just keep on doing that for like forever.
Just to like elaborate a little on that, if you're using DCs, it depends on if you're using resis or DCs. So like if you're using resis, yeah, like what he said, I'll do the same exact strategy. With resis, I'll start the task like 45 seconds to like maybe a minute right before those card holds expire. But if I'm using DCs, like those are obviously a lot faster. I'll do like 15 to 20 seconds before that 5 minute mark hits. And yeah, like especially I've done that a lot with Whatbot particularly, and yeah, like it's ridiculous how like I'll stop them and then I'll start it like right before that minute mark, and I'll just get like instantly like 5, 6, 7 checkouts. So that's that's a really good strategy. Also, 50.
Yeah.
If you guys didn't know about that, give that a try.
Probably the best way to go about like foot site restocks as well, and not only the initial drill.
I completely agree.
Alright.
And yeah, like foot site restocks can be very lucrative, you know.
Mhm.
Sometimes, especially like that last week, or was it a week or 2 weeks ago when they did that Game Royal restock?
Yeah, they just
like, that
restocked
was-
so many pairs.
Yeah, like it was courts, like Royals, like people were. I mean, like I personally hit a lot in like on the timeline, and like just in checkout logs and everything, people were feasting on those. So,
Mhm.
and I feel like sometimes on those restocks they like do cancel a lot less too. So
Yeah,
just
definitely.
something to always keep some tasks ready with those profiles, because you don't want to be scrambling last minute to set that up.
Yep. Does that finish up everything we wanted to talk about?
think so.
Yeah, I think so.
Anyone else wants to add?
No,
You're sad?
I'm good. You're sad.
Anyone else wants to add?
Don't be sad. No, it's just that. I mean, just to wrap it up, guys, make sure you set up on time. Open up tickets if you have any questions. Hit us
Before the
up.
drop.
And, yeah, like a day before, please. Like, really put some effort into it. You'll do a lot better. I promise. I promise you'll do a lot better if you put the effort into it, and don't set up last minute. And with that said, good night.
Good night. 3:50 p.m. Alright.
4:50
Remember
p.m.,
last
bro.
drop? Remember last drop? We said good night and we ended it, and then Saeed cut it off. I was like, dude, why'd you cut off the good night?
I'm still recording. I'm not letting him cut off this good night. There's gonna
They
be
don't know what
ton of footage right
they
here.
don't know what time it is. They don't know what time it is when we cut off the podcast, donkey. It's recorded. It's not coming at you live.
Exactly.